Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show. We are here for our first match week review since the Bundesliga has finally commenced after so long of waiting. We get to actually talk about some serious Bundesliga footy. What's been a particularly enjoyable weekend. Lots of goals, plenty to talk through. Some late winners. No losses on opening weekend for the two newly promoted sides. I think that's the first time that's happened for a long while. There's a lot to get into. Joined this evening by Mark and Peter. How are we both doing?
Not bad at all, my friend. Yeah, not bad at all. Yeah, obviously had guests over here in Nuremberg this weekend, but still managed to catch quite a bit of the live action. And apart from my beloved FC Nuremberg having yet another stinker of a result on Friday night, along with Peter's Kaiserslautern as well, I've got to get you on that. But yeah, other than that, great weekend and glad to be back.
Likewise, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be joining us. Joining both of you. The tender trio is or no, the tender trio would be with Cam. I'm sorry. This is the Three Musketeers. Anyways, good to see you, chappers. Good to see you, gentlemen. And we'll go ahead and get on with the world's best footballing beat any which way you would like.
Let's do it. But yes, before last we do get into it, it'd be wrong of me not to do our little intros as we always like to. As per, if you can leave a thumbs up on this show, that'd be excellent for our first match week review of the season. That'd be lovely. Comment along naturally if you can have your say on what's happened this weekend. If you're not watching us live, put a message in the comments afterwards, and we'll make sure that we engage with you guys the best way that we know how to. And subscribe to the channel. We've had a lovely upward turn in subs since the start of the season, which is excellent to see. All eyes on the Bundesliga, really. So that's awesome. So make sure you also check out our two partners in crime for this season, of course, being, Bundesliga boxes, which actually is one thing that leads me into our current giveaway that we're doing with Rich, which is a Bundesliga box batch 50 giveaway, which is still running and will run until the end of the month. So you still got roughly about a week to enter that. That's on our social channels on Blue Sky and X. You can find those details by searching us at the Bundesliga Show. Very, very kind of Rich to give us a giveaway to get things kicked off, and it gives you an excellent opportunity to get yourselves the last batch 50 Bundesliga box. So make sure you enter that and get yourself straight onto that. Big thanks to Covert Football Trips and, of course, Bully News. For all the support so far in the last few years and, of course, going forward this season. And make sure you follow us on all social media. But yes, less of the intro and more of the footy. I think we're just going to work our way through chronologically, but with some of the more highlighted games and, of course, do best of the rest in slightly lesser detail to round up the show. We'll start off with the big kickoff because, if we're doing this chronologically, it only makes sense. It's the only game that I watched live this weekend because I was, down south with the little man, the little family. We've had our first little trip away from our house and it was absolute carnage. So Friday was nice to just enjoy the footy before things got crazier for me and the fan. And yes, it was... as we put in the title, annihilation to the nation as FCB took RBL to the cleaners, 6-0 in the end, chaps. Tail of the tape, 3 goals in each half. I think for me, obviously we'll get into this in plenty of detail, talk about the positives that Bayern would take away from this, talk about the negatives that RBL fans will be taking away from this as well, and maybe leading questions that we'll ask ourselves for the rest of the season, as we always like to do when things are so early on. So, it took about 20 odd minutes maybe for Bayern to get into their strides. Leipzig were quite pressed back anyway. Didn't really have an out. When they did try to get out, it was obviously Luis Openda trying to hold up the ball and doing it spectacularly badly, in my opinion, just flopping to the ground every 5 seconds, hoping to win a free kick to get Leipzig further up the pitch. and it just didn't work. It was not a trick was not being kind of picked up by the referee, and therefore Leipzig were just completely under pressure. Bayern tried again a few times with a bit more of a lofted idea. A couple of times, I think it was Leimer and Kane almost benefited from said ideas. But eventually the pressure told. And Peter, I'll throw it out to you first. And the first half and the first 3 goals, the first goal had an element of fortune about it, the way it fell to Elise. But thereon after that, the first goal goes in and Bayern very much get into their stride and carried on in the way you'd expect the champions to do so.
Indeed. Yes. The major tactical talking point from this, of course, is the fact that Serge Gnabry was used in the 10 slot. And Elise had been used in the 10 slot during the Super Cup. And you could see that he was really hamstrung. He was struggling. He wanted to break out onto the flanks. So the big question for Bayern entering the season, in addition to this purported small squad size that they have, 25 professionals is a small squad for 3 competitions, was, well, who will replace Jamal Musiala at 10? And there's been more busted transfers than one can potentially count on both hands. And eventually, all that they really got in terms of a summer purchase was Luis Diaz, who has been spectacular throughout camp, throughout the preseason, and in these 2 competitive fixtures as well. Gnabry assisting on the other 2 goals there to Elise. And as a matter of fact, I was covering the post-match press conference with Vincent Kompany. And it was quite the touching moment in which a reporter asked him, so what about all the problems that Serge Gnabry has had at Bayern? He is entering the final year of his contract, of course. He's considered somewhat expendable, almost a forgotten Bayern player. And Kompany just, shook his head dismissively and said, this is an underrated player. But what do you mean things have been going rough for him? He's always been important for Bayern. He'll still be important for Bayern. Kicker in the Monday edition had a wonderful story about how Gnabry was actually the winner, the big winner from Bayern training camp. And of course, there are several other winners as well. We can talk about some of these young prospects that are coming through the system, like Leonard Carl, like Asare, like this Wisdom Mike kid who we haven't really seen a lot from yet. But these 3 youngsters will be given a chance to shine for the German Giants this season. But in any event, what conclusions can we draw from this for the title race? Bayern are, of course, back in gear. They show almost no weakness. Gnabry works very, very well as a 10. He has a lot of experience as a striker, of course. We have another Kane Lupenreiner. That is Harry's 3rd Lupenreiner of his Bundesliga career. He had 2 last year, one against Kiel, one against Augsburg, both in the first half of the season there. This was the only one in which he scored all 3 from open play. So, Mark, I guess we'll throw it to you then for a little bit of a Leipzig autopsy, if you like, or perhaps you have some thoughts on Bayern first.
Yeah, if we want to turn it over to Leipzig, it just didn't work out, did it, basically? Obviously, Ole Werner's first game in charge for the Red Bull team is not one that he's going to remember very fondly at all, basically. Obviously, it is always a baptism of fire, really, when you go to the Allianz Arena to play the Rekordmeister, isn't it? And that's exactly what it turned out to be for the Saxon team. I think most of the problem happened. I just feel as though there was too much distance between the midfield and the attack. I think Simmons played way too deep in my eyes. And obviously there's been a lot of transfer talk as well over Simmons in recent times. Does he really want to be at the club? But I think also tactically he just played far too deep as well. And I didn't like his performance. I didn't like the tactical role that Ole Werner had given him at all, basically. Obviously, the other 2 midfielders, Seewald and Schlager, also had their own problems. They were getting overrun by that Very strong Bayern midfield. Obviously, their axis of Goretzka and Kimmich, who played really well, I felt. Seyvald in particular, obviously, we've kind of maligned him on this show a few times in the past, haven't we? And I mean, what really the club sees in him as such a strong defensive midfielder, I just don't quite get it, to be honest. And at times I was watching that second half and he looked like just not even close to the grade, if I'm being honest with you, to play for a club like RB Leipzig. He just got completely overran. So I think the midfield was the main problem, really. It just didn't work out at all. I mean, obviously, Openda, who didn't have the best season last year, was just he was a passenger, basically, in the game, as far as I'm concerned. And the only player I really think can take that much out of this was substitute Antonio Nusa, actually, who I felt was by far the best player on the Red Bull side. He actually had a goal disallowed as well, didn't he, at 4-0? Not as though it would have made that much difference to the result. But at the time, I was thinking, wow, that's harsh. But it did seem as though he was just offside, didn't it, from the initial kick?
Well, it's because the ball was moving, wasn't it? That's what
that was it. But it seemed very harsh, that one, to be honest. I felt as though that was very, very harsh in truth. But that just kind of summed up RB's night, really, didn't it, in many ways? I think obviously work to do for them. Can you really read that much into this performance? Probably not. It was a task too much for the first game for a lot of these players, the likes of Diamande, Bakayoko, both making the first starts. And let's be honest, they're not going to really remember the game at all because they were barely involved, in truth. Have RB done enough? I mean, I obviously tipped them to finish second in the end, but it was a kind of mostly because all the other teams are weakened, as far as I'm concerned, in this title race. Rory, you heard my opinion when we did the season predictions. In my eyes, basically the title race is more or less over before it gets started this season. That's my honest view, guys. I'm not going to mince my words about this. And this weekend has pretty much proved what I was kind of expecting the whole year. I mean, I don't know if you guys agree with that, but yeah, the title races, we might not get too much of one this season.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about transfer business and everything that we were kind of expecting leading into the season, the way that Friday night played out and the way that the weekend played out pretty much backed up exactly what we've been saying for the last few weeks. Maybe other than the fact that Frankfurt looked particularly impressive, but then again against a slightly weakened Werder side, which we'll talk about as well. So maybe we're having to rely on the Eintracht for a title push against the FCB, perhaps. We will see. Anything else, chaps? That I mean, Leipzig, as you said, Mark, had a 15-minute spell, perhaps just after the half. Substitute as well. Romolu, maybe however you're pronouncing his name, came on for Openda. He looked more involved in the game. He made some good presses to win the ball for Leipzig high up the pitch. So maybe some promise to take out of that. Maybe Nusa gets a start next game. I think their next game is against Heidenheim off the top of my head, which of course is a promising way for them maybe to get back on the horse. Pressure straight away onto Ole Werner that, they need to respond well. Peter, you already established that Bayern front quartet looked sparkling, looked special. And they will do horrible things to lots of teams this season, as and when they're in the mood. As again, you've already mentioned the Kane second half hat trick, just doing what he does. So composed, so cool in the box, and took his chances really well as Leipzig got stretched. So yes, interesting opening night. I recall them because the game was on BBC iPlayer because of the TV rights in the UK. I even got to see a post-match press interview with Bakayoko, I think it was. And he spoke pretty good English as well, so fair play to him. And he was being asked some very typical questions, but also some very miserable questions to answer, no doubt, in your first start as a Leipzig player, and having to face that. And one thing he said that I felt at least was quite interesting is that he felt that they didn't look after the ball very well and keep possession very well, and particularly in the first half. And I'd certainly agree with that because maybe our last point on this game before we move on, Peter, it was just endless, and teams that play against Bayern this season are going to have to do a better job of keeping the ball. And I'll recall and regale back to matches that my boys Stuttgart played against Bayern, maybe in the Super Cup as well, retaining possession and having a go at Bayern, and this defensive from the outset is not the way to probably play against this FCB side.
Well, I mean, Bayern is, I mean, they're lined up in a straightforward fashion. And they are, I mean, I know it sounds strange for me to say that they're beatable. I mean, with Leipzig, we have to add, and with Leverkusen, which we'll discuss in a moment, these are the two squads that are, the German press is calling them the XXL Umbruch squads because they've had so many incoming and outcoming transfers. Leverkusen's 10 times worse than Leipzig, actually. And I mean, it is fixable. It is rectifiable. Mark brought up Xavi Simons's deep midfield deployment. When I projected the lineup for this match, I was almost sure that Nusa would start in the position that Xavi did. And a lot of the new Leipzig actors have had good training camps. I mean, Diomande has had an impressive training camp. Bakayoko, from what we've seen of him, has been pretty good. The Seiwald, Schlager has had an excellent training camp. And I think that's why Seiwald started, because he wants an Austrian accent there. We always joke, it was, my God, it must have been 2 years ago that we were joking that Nicholas Seiwald looks like he's 14. Yeah.
And he's still
he's 24 years old now, so now he looks like he's 15 and a half. He's got stunted growth issues. But I mean, we're at the beginning here, and Leipzig and Leverkusen, they still have a lot of talented players, many of them who did impress in training camp. And I did a lot of scouting for these huge tactical sections that I wrote. So they have time to get their ship in order. For the record, I consider the two title aspirants, if you will, kind of sort of to be Eintracht Frankfurt and Rory's VfB Stuttgart, and I'll explain that later if you want me to. But for the time being, we'll have to move on. Probably move on to Leverkusen and discuss something very similar, which is that, I mean, we have this entirely new squad. And a new coach, and they're struggling.
Yep, 100%. It's a good kind of way to lead ourselves into our next game and talk about our last season's runners-up and a team that has indeed been thrown in the air and very much pieced together with new head coach Erik ten Hag losing on opening day, much like he did with my English side, Man United. He lost his first game for us as well. And well, I mean, this was a game that was loaded with potential for a inverted commas upset. Hoffenheim came to town and straight away looked threatening. Mark, obviously, Lemperl hit the post even before Leverkusen's early lead happened. And that was obviously Newman, Jarell, Kwanzaa getting on the end of a delightful Alejandro Grimaldo free kick. The way that he kind of just caressed the ball and made it jump for him. I just love his technique, Grimaldo, and he's going to have to be a huge player for Leverkusen once more if they're to fare well / better. But yeah, a nicely put away header. But Hoffenheim, gave as good as they got in that first 20-25 minute spell. Got themselves a leveller. Some good work down the left-hand side by Toure, getting the ball through into the penalty box, and Asllani then smashing home from quite close range and the near post to beat Flecken to make it 1-1. And I think Fisnik Asllani is going to be a player that hopefully we talk about a fair amount this season. Obviously a lot has been said about his successes last season with Elversberg, and stands to rights that we'll maybe get something similar if he can keep up this early form in the Bundesliga top division football. So we got to 1-1, and then I think the warning signs, were there, Mark. a couple of chances for Hoffenheim, but some also good saves at the other end from Baumann. They stayed 1-1 up to the break, but then very early, the winning goal happened. And just talk us through maybe this goal and the way that the rest of the game went, because unfortunately for Leverkusen, defensively, they did not cover themselves in glory the way that they dealt with that first long ball. Walk us through the goal and your thoughts on the second half and how Leverkusen maybe came up short in the end.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Rory, was obviously the long ball up front, wasn't it? And it was really poorly dealt with by the kind of new look Leverkusen defense, really. But, a great strike from the obviously a great player in Lemperle as well. Obviously, former Fürth. I think, Peter, we've seen him a few times live, haven't we, for the Kleeblatt down the road, Greuther Fürth, but he's going to get a big chance this year to lead that line for Hoffenheim, and he had a really good debut as well. It was a great strike, low, clean, into the bottom corner. I mean, Flecken, who hasn't really kind of come in with such a fanfare in truth as the Leverkusen number one, was a bit slow to get down. I mean, he did get a good sight on it, but still it was a great strike and a deserved win really for Hoffenheim as far as I'm concerned. I think Leverkusen were only really threatening through set plays really through the entire match. Obviously Alex Garcia and Grimaldo both float in a really nice ball, don't they? And Kwanzaa was obviously very, very dangerous from them, but I think it's a good job that Alex Garcia can float in a good ball, because he can't do much else, unfortunately, on a football pitch. And I felt as though this was a hopeless performance from the central midfielder, really, leaving all kinds of problems. That short ball he played back to Flecken was just awful in the first half, almost kind of selling his goalkeeper down the river, really, there. And he could easily have ended up getting a red card from that particular incident. I mean, what can you say? I mean, first of all, congratulations to Hoffenheim. I mean, we've talked a lot about teams. There's a lot of teams in the Bundesliga that have got a completely new team this year, and no less than Hoffenheim, who had 9 new players in their starting lineup for this game, which is just mind-blowing, really. I mean, only stalwarts Kramaric and Baumann had kept the place, basically, from last season's woeful team. And, a whole host of new players. Like, obviously, Asllani was a Hoffenheim player, but he was out on loan at Elversberg. And obviously, Peter and I know that he played fantastically last season, ruining Nuremberg's 125-year anniversary almost single-handedly that day as well, along with his teammate Damar, too, who was left on the bench for this game. I think, obviously, the defence as well of Hoffenheim looked a lot better. This is the key this season. We've talked so much about Hoffenheim's awful defence over a number of years now. First of all, they've signed proper fullbacks for the first time in a long time. I think Bernardo and Kufal are both really smart signings from them. Kufal, obviously, a kind of stalwart of West Ham United, wasn't he? And always did a good job for them at right back. And he's exactly the kind of character they need to come into the club. And felt as though both of them had strong debuts and in a quite a defensive setup, really, in some ways, from Hoffenheim. The only unfortunate news for them was that centre-half Machida did an ACL, I believe, which is not what the doctor ordered. Pardon the pun at all, really, there. Obviously, the impressive Japanese centre-half did tear an ACL and will miss a long time. But there are obviously options to come in there, the likes of Artur Chavez, Akpaguma. I'm not sure they'll really want to see them back in the starting lineup anytime soon, though. But overall, impressive first performance from Hoffenheim. As I say, Lemperle and Asllani were probably the ones that are going to steal the show as well. Credit as well to the fantastic defensive midfielder, to Advu Dalahu. That's going to be one that gives us a few problems this season, but he looked impressive as well. A tough tackling midfielder who I felt dealt really well with Garcia and Andrich. So congratulations to them. I think, Peter, you tipped them for top 4, and I watched quite a lot of predictions in the Bundesliga this year, and not many people, most people had them round about mid-table to even bottom half. But I mean, this team looks more impressive to me from what I saw. I feel as though they still have more to give, I feel, yet as well. I don't think they hit the absolute top heights in this game, but obviously it was good enough to get a win at the Bayern Arena. As for obviously Leverkusen, it just doesn't look good, to be honest. I'm not going to lie, guys. I felt as though it was a below par performance. The midfield, first of all, just didn't seem to work. That axis of Garcia and Andrich just looks tired, and Andrich is past his best as far as I'm concerned. I think he had that 2-year period where he really performed at a high level, but he's kind of reverted to type a little bit in 2025, if I'm being honest. Garcia just is yet to impress me as a Bundesliga actor. I just felt as though he was poor in the game as well. Schick was isolated, didn't have much of the game at all. And obviously with the news coming in that Piero Hincapié is likely to go to Arsenal as well, there's more problems along the line. Obviously, Palacios was left out of the squad. He's linked away. Boniface looks very likely to go to Milan. So, yeah.
Off now.
Oh, it's off now, that one. There you go. But, I mean, still teams are in there for him, aren't they? And it's just, he doesn't look happy. He didn't really look happy the back end of last season. And Leverkusen have got problems. I mean, they've got the marquee coach that they wanted, Eric Ten Hag. But Peter, what do you think? Do we expect much from Leverkusen this season based on this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, first, I'll explain why I tipped Hoffenheim for a top 4 finish. And I say this as a German through maximum gritted teeth. And I can't stand it. I'm so angry. I'm livid at the fact that this club's best attempt to sabotage themselves has actually turned out well. I mean, it's not just the new arrivals. Avdullahu and Berger. I was wondering why they were clicking so easily. It's because the two of them played for Basel together a few years back before they moved on to their other clubs. Berger, of course, did get hurt along with Machida, but Tahumshu came in there and he was just fine. And Hoffenheim have already signed a replacement for Machida. They signed this Swiss kid, Hajdari, I believe his name is, just today. But Chavez is one of these things that even the Hoffenheim transfer flops from last season turned in really good camps. So you have, it's not just that they have a new team, with very talented new attackers, such as Tim Lempele, Fisnik Aslani, and Demar, who should probably be starting soon. Kramaric was probably the weakest link in the Hoffenheim squad on that day. Talk about a guy who's past his prime. That's ridiculous. The guys who were complaining last year, Kramaric and Prömel, are getting eased out. And some of the flops, like Chavez, like Kanak, they are all of a sudden turning in good camps. And they have, there's other great attackers on this squad, like young Max Morstedt, who had a good year last year and had a good camp this year. So, that's why they're really deep. And they run this 4-2-2-2 system, very Leipzig-esque system. You may think that's Leipzig-esque, but it was actually Ralf Rangnick who perfected Hoffenheim before he went to Leipzig. With Basu Monitore sort of working outside as this pseudo winger 8-10, and it's very sophisticated. I'm surprised they didn't score more goals on the day. I don't think either team progressed past 1 XG, but yeah, it's a very good team, and these injuries to Machida and Borger really mean nothing. They're deep. They shaved off Andreas Schicker, whom he did a good job this offseason in getting. He had this ridiculous 39-man roster, and somehow he cut up all the bait. He talked Gladbach into taking on Haris Tabakovic. Yeah. He talked Leeds into forking over 20 million for Stach. Maybe he's worth it. I don't know. He got loan locales for Stanley and Soki and Attila Scheidler. What the hell? He's really been working some magic in that TSG front office. And speaking of front offices, I guess that provides you with a pretty good segue into Leverkusen, which is, who on earth would want to be working in that front office at this point in time? The amount of players who want to jump ship just never stops. It never stops this summer. I was expecting that the mass exodus from Leverkusen was over, but then went Xhaka, then went Adli. Now goes Hincapié. Now potentially Garcia, because they've got another guy lined up there. And I mean, the replacement does look. There's some real good talents on this squad. That's Ibrahim Matza, the 19-year-old who they got from Hertha. He is really going to be something this season. He's not Flowert's, but he's Flowert's extra light beer. Okay, maybe the 0-calorie. But he's got some little Flowert's accents. So I mean, I think he'll have a good season. I think that he's in for a good campaign. Poku did not do a good job off the bench, but he's new. You have to give him some time to get acclimated. Andrich, he got the captaincy, and he's a big bad bruiser. I don't know. Somebody had to get the captaincy. I think he was probably a very good choice. I've not seen Bade yet, the new Ivorian that they got, but apparently they got a decent central defensive core. I mean, Tapsoba is always good. Wanza also impressed me during training camp, and I don't know if I'm saying, is it Tape or Tape, Axel Tape? I don't know.
Tape, I think. You never know. It might be another Boniface situation.
Or freaking Olise, who the hell knows? And they go back and forth. So I mean, they have a decent squad. It's just that it's going to take a very, very long time for this to come together. And Ten Hag is stuck in this 3-4-3 system that he inherited from Xabi. He wants to run a different system, but he doesn't have to. He has to keep some of the embryonic stuff in place. Yeah. So I mean, that's why I don't think you see Leipzig or Leverkusen challenge for the title this season. I picked them both for the Europa League slots. And I would say that, Hoffenheim are headed for a top 4 finish. Everything breaks their way. All of these players that are associated with Roger Wittmann succeed. The Austrian takeover of Hoffenheim is another successful Austrian takeover of Germany, and now I'm just depressed. So we can.
Well, on that note, let's move on to another game for sure to cheer Peter up. We've talked about 2 games in half an hour as well, so we've got another 7 to cover in half an hour ish. So lots to think on for Leverkusen, and a great start for Hoffenheim on match week 1. Let's go to Hamburg, but the opposite team, the team that apparently, according to me and Mark, can't score any goals, none, especially last season. And all of a sudden, the FCSP pinged 3 goals in their first game in a very excitable 3-3 draw with BVB on Saturday evening. So the Topspiel really presented an excellent game for us. This is the extent of my research, sadly, is where it kind of draws to a close, because this was one game I wasn't able to watch live because I was busy elsewhere and I haven't been able to do great amounts of review on it. So, Mark, I'm very much putting you straight into the deep end to kind of run us through the riders and the runners and riders and the winners and losers from this particular match, and who really stood out to you, and some positives, of course, for Pauli, because we started the season with our predictions, not giving them hope in hell of doing too much. So why don't you laud some praise onto the Hamburg-based side?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to start off the analysis of this game by looking at probably the most surprising stat for me, really. I mean, that was the XG. The XG was only 1.839 for St. Pauli and 1.63 for Dortmund. And that included 2 penalties for each team as well. So, I mean, I just want to know, was the XG counter broken in this game or what? Because to me, it seemed as though there were absolutely bags of chances for both teams, to be honest. But, I mean, sometimes XG surprises us. But moving on to the game, I mean, it was a hell of a game. It actually started relatively slowly, and the first major chance fell to, for me, probably one of the most impressive players on the pitch, actually. I mean, it was that man, Andreas Huntonji, a man who led the line brilliantly for Pauli. I mean, Rory, me and you had kind of said, who's going to get the goals? Who's going to lead the line for this team, really, didn't we? And we were actually kind of worried that it was going to be Jay Jones, weren't we, from Peterborough United, third, only just survived in League One in England, Peterborough United. But obviously Huntonji kind of came in through the back door a little bit, didn't he? And my God, he played well in this game. And he had the first big chance. Obviously scored with a fantastic header to initially equalise as well from Guirassí's opener. Let's not forget that Guirassí, after scoring a pretty nice opening goal from the header, he actually missed a penalty as well later on in the first half, which probably cost them the 3 points ultimately. But it was in the second half that Pauli really kind of came out. They did really well. Got that good equaliser through Andreas Huntonji, which was a brilliant header, by the way. There wasn't actually that much kind of pace on the ball, but he managed to kind of rotate his neck, and it was a brilliant header, that one, I felt. But then it was obviously Dortmund who went further clear. Anton with a relatively lucky deflected goal, which took them into a 2-1 lead. And then Julian Brandt with a well-taken third as well. Obviously, Brandt coming off the bench in this game as he continues to be kind of half-linked with a move away from Signal Iduna Park as well. 3-1, you're thinking it's game over, aren't you? Pauli played pretty well in the game, but then there was obviously more twists to come, weren't there? With the shot saved pretty unconvincingly by Kobel, it was obviously youngster Filippo Mane who dragged back Cisse, wasn't it? It was obviously looked at very closely on VAR. Initially, I thought, what's he giving it for, this one? This looks very weird. But then you do see on the very slowed down replay that he did just about pull him back, clip his legs a little bit. Obviously, Mane was then sent off for that as well. And former Wigan Athletic man, Sinani, rolled home the penalty for 3-2. And then the perfect finale, really, in this game, wasn't it? It was the man who sounds like he's got an English name, but the German commentators call him Schmeit or Smite. Rolled in an absolute screamer, didn't he? Absolutely brilliant strike, just as he did, ironically, at the Signal Iduna Park last season as well. So, I mean, I think he wishes he saw the BVB every week, really, the centre half. But it was a hell of a strike, bending, curling, top corner, out of the reach of Gregor Kobel, to see massive scenes of delirium, really, in the Pauli ultras. I think they only saw the home team score 3 times twice last season. Obviously, they've seen it once in the first game this week. Crazy game, Peter, really. Go on, I'll turn it over to you. Who kind of stood out in this one for you, for both sides?
German football stood out. It's a shame you missed that, Roy. It was a wonderful advert for German football Saturday night there at the Millantor. Fabulous atmosphere, as always, by the St. Pauli fans and the ultras there. We have so much to look forward to this year, including the Hamburg City Derby, first time in 14 years. That's what kicks off the round next time. With St. Pauli, this is also an entirely new team. Half of the outfield is comprised of new players. Joachim Fujita, the midfielder, is new. The 2 wingbacks, Pirka and Oppi, DSC Arminia Bielefeld Pokal hero, also new. Huntonji is, I guess, I've been told by some English friends that I should be glad that Ricky J. Jones got hurt, because he's all pace, not much else. And Huntonji has been quite impressive in training camp, as has his striking partner, Maxi Pierre-Laga, who is also a new addition. You can count the American midfielder James Sands as a new addition, because he got hurt rather early after he was acquired in the last January transfer window. And of course, we need to say a little something about, yes, it is properly pronounced Schmeit. Rory and I had a discussion about this on a pod last season. He's Swedish. So that's how it's pronounced. And Nikola Vasiljevic, that is he has saved 5 of 6 penalties in the German top flight. And Schmeit, in a post-match interview, admitted that he deliberately fouled Karim Adeyemi because he knew Vasiljevic saved the penalty. So kudos to the I mean, he's also, the Bosnian national team keeper. Absolutely a stalwart there between the posts. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that St. Pauli are going to factor into the relegation race this season at all. I think injuries can happen, but I think that they're a very good team. And now that they've scored 3 goals at the Millantor, don't you remember it took them until November to score a home goal last year? And they actually tied Tasmania Berlin's record for the least home goals in a single season. Anytime you're associated with Tasmania Berlin, that is okay, Dortmund. I know everybody's thinking this is typical Dortmund. This is Dortmund doing Dortmund things. And to be fair, Niko Kovac botched his tactics in this one. He has a very, very good double 8 setup with Job Bellingham and Felix de Metsche, which he decided not to start for whatever reason. He started Bellingham on the second axis opposite Pascal Gross. Those two players do not go together at all. I mean, Pascal Gross, I love him, but pace is not his thing. He is not, particularly not at this age. They have injuries, of course, to the defensive core. There should be 3 new signings on the way. Chukwuemeka, Anselmino, and also Fabio Silva, probably all confirmed within the next couple of days. While they're dealing with injury, I think Marcel Sabitzer has done a very, very good job in his new deeper midfield role in camp. And Svensson and Kauto have been okay as the sort of pseudo wingbacks. I hate to say I find myself agreeing with Mark Bellingham about how Kovac botched his tactics in this one. Incidentally, okay, this was one of those stories that, when it broke on my shift on Sunday morning, I'm like, oh God, do I have to? Do I have to? Do I really have to? Yes, of course you have to. You have to take one for the team. You have to report on something sensational, reactionary at times. And I'd never seen Mark Bellingham before, and I don't want to see him again, really. It's, it's a good thing those kids look like their mother, I tell you. He is one hard English man. But anyway, he went down to the Dortmund locker room afterwards and had something of a flaming row with sporting director Sebastian Kehl in the catacombs of the Millantor, and this is all we need from Dortmund at this point this season. But he was right about the fact that his son was not used properly tactically. And again, that's the last I want to see of him. That's the last I want to report on this story. Dortmund, another team that, just like Bayern, they have to play catch-up in the transfer window because of this wretched USA-hosted World Cup. It took too much time out of them. It took too much administrative energy out of them. They had a late camp, they had a late start, and they're playing catch up on the personnel front, just like Bayern are to a certain extent, and they will catch up, and they probably will be okay. But I mean, this summer tournament really threw a wrench to their administrative plans, and that's what's going on. Besides Kovac's botched tactics, again, I was wondering when they might show up.
Yeah, didn't take long, and I don't think we'll be getting any endorsements from Mark Bellingham or the Bellingham family anytime soon. But yeah,
I told you they were right. They were right. I just don't want to. I don't want to see him again.
There you go, Mark. If you're listening, Mark Bellingham, you were right. But yeah, maybe stick to podcasts. Anyway, we move on. Let's talk about 2 other Saturday afternoon games. And 2 good wins. First for Frankfurt, which I'll ask Mark about, and then we'll quickly move on to the Augsburg win, which I'll throw Peter's way. So Mark, big win for Frankfurt, very much as a lot of people predicted against a Werder side who have had a really, really tricky start to this season. And yeah, obviously one reason that I'm sure you will delightfully talk about Eintracht is because of your man or former man, Can Ozun, who was one of 2 star men in this outing. A really great performance and maybe a real breakout season for Ozun. And he got the Eintracht started with an absolutely spectacular strike to make it 1-0, lighting the touch paper on the afternoon for Frankfurt, and they very much got into their stride straight after that, making it 2-0 quickly after, and an Ozun assist for Bahoya, a nice header from close range. Werder had a couple of sniffs here and there, but it's very much a controlled performance. So what did you like from the Eagles? And I guess sadly is exactly what we predicted for Werder Bremen fans and the club alike.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big news for this one was Zeta had basically changed clubs around about a week before kickoff in this one, hadn't he? Obviously the long-serving Werder Bremen goalkeeper had, obviously changed to Frankfurt just what was it, about a few days or a week before kickoff in this one, after Trapp had obviously surprisingly left the club to Paris FC. I think he enjoyed Paris too much when he was over at PSG, so now he wants to play for their poorer relation by the look of it, doesn't he? But yeah, as for Frankfurt, my God, they played well in this game. They did play well. It was great to see my boy Chanozun. I think we always said that it was just a matter of time before he was unleashed into this team. And the back end of last season, we did see him getting a few more minutes, didn't we? And, this was probably his best performance in a SG shirt, really. And just a great start to the season for him. As you say, the goal was exactly the kind of thing we've expected. Nuremberg fans and all Zweite Bundesliga fans got used to 2 seasons ago when he's put in that pretty magnificent season for the FCN. He was scoring goals like that every second game, really, at that time. But great to see him. Just such a, Doan, I felt, made a great debut as well. He's such a good player, Ritsu Doan. I always feel as though he's been a bit underrated almost. He's that good for me. I think over the last 4 or 5 years, he's been one of the best, most consistent players in the Bundesliga. I really do believe that. And thought he was fantastic on debut as well. I think the formation worked really well too. I think that back four is just starting to look so solid as well for Frankfurt. I think Theater and Christensen probably one of the most improved players in the Bundesliga in 2025 for me. Obviously made his loan move permanent and played really well in this game as well. I think the other news was obviously Johnny B playing as the kind of lone number 9. Johnny Burkhardt signed from Mainz. He missed an absolute sitter at 0-0, actually. I mean, he'll still be seeing that in his nightmares, to be honest, because he should have had a debut goal on a plate there, really, shouldn't he? Obviously, wasn't able to take that chance, hitting the post. But in general, there was barely a player that played badly for Frankfurt in this game. I think Larsen is growing more and more, starting to play that kind of pivot role, isn't he, in the deep part of midfield. I thought he was awesome. Chaibi was probably the one that was maybe not quite so active in this game, but I think overall, to a man, you could say this was a strong performance from the SG. As for Werder, yeah, it's going to be a long goal season for the Green North German team. I thought they were poor, to be honest. They were just completely outclassed, similar to as they were against Arminia Bielefeld just last week as well. The midfield axis of Leonardo Bittencourt and Lehnen just isn't working anymore at all. I feel as though Bittencourt is so far past it now, it's almost laughable, really. I remember Rory, we were talking about him being a decent player like 4 or 5 years ago now, weren't we? And I mean, let's just say he's not got any better. I think he struggled again in midfield, just as he did against Bielefeld last week. The defence is perhaps where the biggest problems are faced as well. Malatini doesn't do it for me. Stark hadn't really had that much game time last season and has now come back in and struggled. Obviously, the left with Backhouse as the goalkeeper. Did he do enough to justify a start next week? Probably not, really. But who else have they got, basically? I mean, as for forwards, Gruel struggled as well. Obviously, and Jimmer did score a nice goal. We've got to give him credit for that. Their goal was actually quite a nice counter-attack, well-worked counter-attack. But that's all you can say, really, for Werder. I mean, they'll be happy they got off the mark with goals, but that was pretty much all they created pretty much the whole match, really. A few half chances, and they're going to struggle this season. I think they're outsiders for a relegation fight, to be honest, this year, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I think that's what we sadly predicted for them this season. So, yeah, great start for Frankfurt and work to do for Werder. Simultaneously, Peter, it was a good afternoon in the end for the FCA. Against Freiburg. This was an interesting game where we thought the host took the lead, but the goal was scratched in the end. And Augsburg came roaring back with some good goals. Obviously, Marius Wolf tapping off a good half, breaking away some questionable last man defending from Freiburg to leave him completely isolated and to win the ball and sprint the length of the pitch to make it 3-0. But yeah, what did you see from this one? There's also if we're talking about horrific misses, are we also counting? Was it Suzuki, the new signing where Grifo sets him nicely up for a seemingly a lovely tap in and decides to just fall over and shank it straight over the bar? Was one definite bad miss in this game. But yeah, Peter, roll us through this Saturday afternoon game.
I'm not too concerned for Freiburg. They did win the XG battle. Those 3 Augsburg goals all came very close together when the team was rattled. You mentioned the disallowed goal and the missed penalty. Manzambi probably should start in the 10 slot above Suzuki, and I think that Nicholas Besta has done enough in training camp to take Dinkji's starting position there on the right wing. It's a shame. Those guys are friends, former Heidenheim teammates. You wish they could play together, but they can't. So I'm not too worried about them. Obviously, Germans are very, very ecstatic for Sandro Wagner getting his first win. Mark and I were talking a little bit about that on our head coaches pod. He's just Germans are enamored with him. We want him to succeed. We want him to maybe coach the German national team one day. And the team that he put together didn't make a great deal of sense. He didn't have a real natural attacker on there. He had Feldhauer and Saad. Well, Saad's an attacker, but Krumur was leading the line. So, yeah, I mean, it was weird, but it was also in Torup's previous tactical system. And Wagner at the post-match press conference actually admitted that yes, Torup left him a stable squad. Those are his actual words. With eyes firmly on the clock, I want to say a little bit about Eintracht and Bremen. Can Uzun did set a new club record with 3 scorer points. He's the youngest player to ever do so with Eintracht. I have tipped Eintracht to finish second in large part because I think this will be the year of Can Uzun. He is quite literally taking over for Mario Götze. Thought that he would one day, not necessarily on the same club, but he's doing so. And the absolute implosion that is Werder Bremen, if you like watching car crashes, is very much worth your time because everything has gone wrong for this team. I have picked them to finish dead last. I think they're going to, with the poor squad management over the summer, the horrible luck with injuries, and the fact that their captain cannot stop giving epic post-match interviews.
Yeah,
it is absolutely worth your time to check out. He actually, Michael Zetter gave him his tricot after the match, and he was being interviewed by Sky. Yeah. And the Sky, I don't know, for lack of a better term, dingbat was like, "Oh, and how satisfied are you with the victory?" And he was like, "You can't even get my team right." Yeah. So this is ridiculous. Werder Bremen and Clemens Fritz. Why can you not sign Isaac Schmidt from Leeds? Why is that so horribly difficult? Why is that taking all summer long? I mean, it's and I don't know. In Bangula, if he becomes the next Naby Keita, I mean, just poor Bremen. Poor Bremen. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if you want, so thank you for allowing me to register comment on that. I mean, if you like, I can give you short synopses of the rest.
Well, let's just run through it. Nice in a nice pace now for the games that we haven't talked about, because of course we want to give everyone their time in the sun. Let's start off with Union Berlin's 2-1 win over Stuttgart. We've got another new player to be able to talk about and have as a hero is Elias Anza, who scored twice in this game. Certainly one very spectacular goal and second a nice finish, although there'd probably be serious question marks over the goalkeeping from VfB there and Nubel. maybe a light at the end of the tunnel for sneaking a draw for VfB is Thiago Thomas returning and scoring quite spectacularly as well. Great finish, but it wasn't enough. And probably a man of the match display by Renault in net, saving a number of VfB efforts. Well, Peter, just quickly on this one then, do you have any worries for my boys after that performance? And just laud a bit of praise on to Union for getting their season off to a good start.
Yeah, congratulations to Ansa. It was a typical Union game. They lost in every statistical category, but they got the 3 points. I mean, Hoeneß's tactics were, I didn't understand them. I think that, I mean, there was like a back three, but there wasn't but nobody was on the right. I think that's because they want to kind of use Wagnermann in a hybrid role this season. He's actually had a good camp, and I think that he's poised for a good season. Yeah, I think they'll be good. I mean, look, they're keeping Voltemada. That's Bayern's not getting them. And the great thing about a front line of Voltemada and Undav is that you can switch that every week. They can take their turns playing 9 and 10. Probably don't need Demirovic anymore. You can sell them to Leeds and make a handsome profit. So I like that, and I like Thiago Tomas's return, and that's why I think Stuttgart are not in such big trouble.
Very good. Thank you for that one, Peter. Moving on then, Mark, what have we not done? We've not done the VfL Wolfsburg win against Heidenheim, despite the efforts of Leo Scienza, a player that you've already praised and want to see more of, Mark. It was the Wolves that came away with 3 points, with Amura, the man managing to win the penalty to convert and make it 3-1 and kill the game. Just a quick thought or two on the VfL getting off the mark as well, and maybe troublesome times for Heidenheim.
Yeah, solid performance from the VfL. I mean, they didn't really have to do that much, to be honest, against, for me, one of the weakest looking squads I've ever seen from a Bundesliga team, to be quite honest with you. It just doesn't look... to be honest, I still can't believe we're talking about Heidenheim as a Bundesliga team. I mean, how did they stay up last season, really? How did they beat Elversberg in that playoff, really? I still don't know. I mean, probably the reason was Cienza, and he was basically the only one. They got 0.25 XG in this game. 0.25 guys at home, and that includes a goal. So yeah, I think that just about sums it up. I think for the VfL, we can't really learn that much about them. I think Maxi Arnold, the evergreen, was the man of the match really in this one. I thought he was superb, as he mostly is. Obviously, Amura coming off the bench to get potentially a parting gift goal as well from a very dubious penalty, I've got to be honest. And I've got to say as well, how did goalkeeper Ramaj stay on the pitch in this one? I mean, surely that first one should have been a straight red card. He came out and clattered Wimmer just as he was about to tuck it into an empty net. He only got a yellow for that one and then didn't get the second yellow on the penalty as well. So, I mean, he is one lucky man to stay on that pitch. And it really seemed as though we were going to be seeing our friend Kevin Muller earlier than we thought, really, didn't it, this season? But that didn't quite work out in this one, and they're stuck with Ramaj again next week. But as for Heidenheim, I mean, if they stay up this season, then pigs really can fly. That's all I can say.
Okay, that's a nice way to sum up Heidenheim then. Apologies to every Heidenheim fan that we've also offended. We're on good form tonight, lads. Okay, then, well, we've got to 58 minutes and we've not mentioned FC or Hamburg, who, well, obviously the latter not as a glorious start, but obviously have an unbeaten start with a 0-0 draw in Gladbach. Maybe give, a quick word to that. But Peter... spectacular last-minute action for the Billgoats and Marius Bulter to win it after a lovely in-swinging cross. I forget who got the assist, but obviously off a red card in the game as well for Paul Nabel, the last man clear, foul to get the red card. And poor start for the 0-5ers this season, unfortunately. But a quick word on both teams, if you will, please.
It was your friend Luca Waldschmidt who got the assist, and who actually had a very good camp as well. Yeah, two very, very bad games on Sunday. I have to say that was not a good advert for the Bundesliga or how German football was meant to be. Well, Mainz are, of course, a very tired side because they're they're doing this Conference League playoff, and they actually had a Monday Pokal kickoff as well. So against Dresden. So, yeah, not good football from either one of these sides. Köln, of course, looked better than Hamburg, and it looks like they've also done a better job on the personnel front this season with their signings. Hamburg, it's just simply been too helter-skelter. I expected a hell of a lot more from Gladbach in this one, although with Tabakovic leading the line, one shouldn't really expect much.
Very true.
Yeah, I mean, based on what we saw, and congrats to Marius Bülter, he's one of my favorite players, always has been. Glad to see him playing back in position again as a center forward. I think both of these teams have a long way to go. And to the chagrin of everybody, I mean, Heidenheim may not, they may be in the relegation playoff this year, but I don't tip them for automatic relegation slots. I think Cienzia is poised to have a much better second season in the German top flight if he doesn't transfer out. And there have been several players such as Michael Kaufmann and whatnot have had a good camp. I don't know why Sebadze is still starting. And we'll end it with a tidbit on Kevin Müller. When they signed Ramai from Dortmund and immediately named him the number one, Holger Sandwald, the Heidenheim CEO, said, and Kevin Müller will be moving to the MLS. False, because nobody in the MLS wants Kevin Müller.
Well, the Bundesliga still wants him, so
he was humiliated, and he took to social media. He was like, "I never said I was moving to the MLS. I didn't have an offer from the MLS. What the hell's wrong with you guys?" And so, it's kind of sad for Kevin Müller, and sad that nobody in the MLS wants him, because there are 30 clubs in America's MLS, and I couldn't name you 5 of them. I can't. Apparently, poor Kevin Müller. Nobody wants him. He's not going to play for Real Salt Lake or whatever the hell.
No idea. Lovely stuff. Mark, any last words on the 0-0 draw? Gladbach disappointing. No Tim, no party, it seems, for them.
Yeah, I did watch this game, unfortunately, but I think for Hamburg, they look solid defensively, but you're wondering, the lineup that Merlin Poulsen went with was a bit confusing in some ways. I felt as though there was no Dompe, there was no Josip Poulsen from the start, and these are the kind of guys that have got the quality in that team. And I think Königsdorfer wasn't even first choice last season for large periods as well, and yet he started this game. So that was the worry. I think in our preview, Peter, and with you, Rory, we did worry where the goals were coming from this team. And Merlin Poulsen is known as being a very, very pragmatic coach, let's say that much, who pretty much looks at set plays as the only way of scoring goals, really. And I did read a few of the German kind of commentary in this game, and a few of them were quite concerned about the same, really, about the lack of open play, created chances from this highest forward team. And we will see, but I would like to see a couple more additions really come through the door for the highest forward, particularly in attacking positions. Otherwise, they're going to be relying on a St. Pauli-style season to stay up, really, where they just look to keep clean sheets, I think, with this team. But in general, it's a good start for both of them. I think Köln deserved their win, actually. I thought they were quite good. They were better than Mainz in the game, I felt. And they probably got enough, as most people have predicted, to stay up this season. So congratulations to them. As you say, Bülter has always been a good striker for me. And I think as a number 9, he's going to get probably 10 to 15 goals this season, which should be enough to guide them to safety this year.
Well, yeah, time will tell. So I think that just basically rounds up for this evening. One thing I did want to say is I absolutely loved the fact that Kwasniok wore a trickle of Cologne to, maybe even confuse the Mainz players. Why don't all coaches do that? I absolutely love that. Fair play to him. So that was another enjoyable thing on Sunday, at least, for the Billy Goat fans. So Lovely stuff. Thank you both. It's been a lovely way to get through match week 1 of the Bundesliga. Yeah, just another 33 of these shows to come, and many more, of course. That we have across this full season that we're very much excited about. So I hope you've all enjoyed watching it with us. Thank you to those of you who joined us and chatted with us live. Thank you for those of you who just watched and sat back and enjoyed us three waddling and wading through the Bundesliga match week 1 review. Just before I do hand over to Mark to close the show, I just do want to guide you towards our current giveaway. Like I said at the start of the show, we've still got a week to run on this excellent Bundesliga Boxes Batch 50 giveaway. It is currently live on our Blue Sky and our X page. So you can find all the details as to how to enter to there, and you will potentially get your hands on the last Batch 50 from Bundesliga boxes. So excellent giveaway that we're currently running. Make sure you have a little look at that. And Mark, I'll hand over to your fine self to finish off tonight's show.
Yep, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on your notifications as well. Keep telling your friends about us. We are, one of the biggest Bundesliga shows channels on YouTube nowadays. So yeah, check us out and keep supporting us and the fantastic team here at the Bundesliga Show. As we're also on social media, basically on any kind of major platforms too. We're also on podcasts as well, so don't forget to check out our Spotify and Apple podcasts and leave a review if you have time. So yeah, thanks very much, guys. It was a pleasure. We're back again, just as we've been waiting all summer, and we'll see you again later in the week for predictions. So thank you very much, guys, and servus. Bye bye.